JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Monday, December 8th, night 17 on this fine morning talk. Really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P future slightly in the green here. Been bouncing around. Let's see. I don't have it. Up about 0.2% on the heels of this most important week. Well, actually, we're nearing the end of the year. So outside of I guess earnings, we have this the last Fed meeting. So Wednesday, obviously a big event. Will the Fed cut rates? Will they won't they cut rates? Will Fed Chair Powell spin it dovish? Will they kind of pull back on the possibility of cutting rates at the start of 2026? All those questions will be answered Wednesday. Also, there's earnings, and to me, like very important earnings. Oracle, which is I would almost call it like the poster child of this circularity financing mumbo jumbo. The great circle jerk is what I call it. They report earnings after close Wednesday. Going to get some more color on what's going on there. You have to think they're going to be extremely bullish, like they have been. So I don't think there'll be any surprises there. And then Thursday is Broadcom. So two big names in the AI space. So maybe that can kind of, I wouldn't say give the market a collective sigh of relief, but at least give the market a little optimism heading into the end of the year, maybe. Dare I say, all-time highs at the end of the year. Funny, all in the midst of all the craziness that you read, and again, this weekend, just another, another weekend filled with headlines and commentary, just bearish, in my opinion. That's how I read most of the stuff. Michael Burry coming out with more stuff. Yesterday evening, this time he was talking about chips, right? Saying that AI chips are in warehouses. If anybody has some pictures, what did he say? He's calling for pics and proof of NVIDIA's GPUs being warehoused in mass quantities in the US, but also overseas, as if the company is hiding all these chips in warehouses to pad their numbers, right? And when they pad numbers, it's not like it's $1 million of numbers, right? You're talking, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and billions in profit. Like, you would have to think this is the most massive. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just comical almost to a sense that he comes out. It's almost like accusing them of fraudulent behavior. That's kind of what he's come down to is okay, the market's not tumbling, Nvidia's not tumbling, Palantir's not tumbling, so let me start accusing them of fraudulent stuff. So hey, I don't know, I don't have boots on the ground in these warehouses or the behind the scenes on these deals and all that stuff. So I'm just reading the filings and using all the available resources to see what I can see. So just so the AI bubble stuff is still continues to get talked about. Maybe we are at some point, but maybe it's in 2027 or maybe it's 2028. You don't know. So to sit here and try and time some of these moves, I mean, it's fruitless in my opinion. So anyway, that was kind of the weekend. So I always try and keep a glass half full kind of optimism on the market. Nice little article this morning, or maybe it was yesterday morning in the Wall Street Journal. 5 reasons to be optimistic, or why investors are optimistic on the market, and just some good points, right? I mean, the employment situation was supposed to be, recession worry, the recession worry numbers, and the weekly jobs claims this past week came at levels not seen since 2020, and so some of these earning ratios that they keep talking about, I guess the capex, no, not the cap, the I forget the exact ratio, but some of those things, if you just kind of like peel back the onion, it doesn't look so bad. So anyway, so that's kind of the overall market. I'm not going to get too much, but obviously a big week for volatility. The S&P traded a 1.4% range last week. You have to think it's going to be a heck of a lot more volatile. We'll probably have more than a 1.4% trading range on Wednesday. So not going to be too overly aggressive. I say that, if I see opportunities, of course I'm going to take opportunity. If I see opportunities on either side of the calls or the puts, but coming into this week, heading Wednesday is going to be volatile, so it doesn't make sense to get overly aggressive unless I see opportunities. All right, that's overall market. 679 is the big spot on the SPY. We're up here at 687. And then 686 was kind of that resistance point we found last week. So we'll see if that provides any kind of support resistance today. All right, it's overall market. Now, just quick on individual names. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Kodak. It's kind of like a spec trade. Added those spec calls on Friday, and then within a matter of a minute of getting the strikes, the stock took off. It was like 870 all the way up to 930. I used to move close some of the calls out for 100% to cover costs. I held the rest. It's a great story. 10% short interest. They have these pension obligations, right? I think it's I don't know how much the amount is, but because of that, they have like $900 million in cash. I forget the exact amount. So it kind of distorts the fundamentals a little bit. But it's an interesting story, and I'm not going to sit here and try and uh, I wouldn't say pump it, but I could see it going 10 plus. And if it gets over 930 today, and I see some decent other opportunities to play for upside, maybe I will. But nice little story here. 52-week highs. If it has continuation today, I'll ride them to $10 and then maybe close them out. Maybe look for other opportunities. But a nice trade there on Kodak. Thank you, Unknown Blood. I think DCZ posted in the summer too, or a couple other times I've seen it in the chat room. So it's a name that I've seen. I haven't done as much due diligence as I would like getting in the name, but looked interesting. Paid off, riding freebies. I'll continue to hold those. Serve Robotics, 1375, the big spot. I think came 1381 on Friday. Still looking for other opportunities to add some more strikes, probably to March. I said I was going to do it on Friday, but still being patient here. It's kind of, I keep saying some of these stocks have post-traumatic trade disorder on some of these names, especially Serve, where you see these bears just at some point they'll just take advantage. The next thing you know, it's $13 today and it'll be back at $11. So don't want to be in a spot where that happens again. So I'll just be patient adding strikes there. But like that one into this week, 1375 breaks. I keep talking about that 18 handle. That's the next big spot there. Reddit, great trade on Friday, closed up 5%. I locked the last of my 235s in for a couple 100%. Went and got those 260s, able to close most of those out for 100%, like 120%. And I just have the last few. Again, I think at some point there's going to be some news in regards to a licensing agreement that's going to either be re-upped, whether it's with Google, OpenAI, any of these other names. You have to think that's going to happen at some point. I was making a joke that is going to get included on part of the S&P 500 on Friday. Well, still have that as a possible tailwind in 2026. If it holds its gains here today, like let's say it gets over 235 or so, I'll probably just hold the 260s and I'll just do what I did last week with the 235. So that's the trade there on Reddit. Deck is trading over $100 here in the pre-market. Still have those 105s. It's funny. You sit there and watch premiums do nothing all last week as the stock rallies. Then finally on Friday, go close up 3.5% and the premium starts to come in. Today, you have to think the 105 is going to be like $1.50 or so. So they'll be up like 500%. Thankfully, they didn't get shaken out of the calls because very easy to do when the premiums don't come up much. And then there's some kind of pull and it's kind of frustrating. Thankfully, held those those December 105s. If it holds up here and I'm trying to think if I'm going to add some January strikes. I was looking at the January 120s, but I mean, take a look at this massive run just from the mid 80s. At some point, there's going to be some kind of pull. So I don't want to be in a spot where I go and add 120s and then give back some of the profits. So I'll probably just continue to hold those 105s. And then maybe if I lock the rest of those out, I'll get some 120s. But a great trade there on Deck. Other names I'm watching, I mean, watching Roku on Friday. You have this whole Netflix, Warner Brothers deal that you have people weighing in. Is it bullish or bearish? Netflix, is it bad for movie making, things like that? But to me, the thing it does, it puts a spotlight on Roku. I wouldn't even say a spotlight, but it's a content neutral content. It's a non-biased third party. Anything that's good for streaming, it's good for Roku, right? So, of course, I always look at it with a positive spin. So I think it should be trading north of 120 at least. It got up to 118 after its earnings, so maybe that's a spot it heads up to. If it finds strength here today, I'll finally get some more strikes there. Same with Kava, right? I got those Kava calls at the start of the week last week. Played those 53 strikes. I think it was 48, $49 when I got the calls. Closed those up for a couple 100%, and then sure enough, it kept running. I think the calls were up over 1,000% at times. And then if I had held on to them to Friday, the stock closed at $53. So funny how that works out. Timing was always one of the most key parts of adding a strike and closing them out. But it looks interesting here again. So if it shows some strength here in the morning, might finally get those December 19th 60 strikes on Kava. Same with Lemonade. I was eyeing those Lemonade 95 strikes on Friday. Thankfully, I shouldn't say thankfully, because it went up to $80 when I was going to get them. Then all of a sudden it was back at 76. So I'm like, good thing I didn't add those strikes. And here it is, $79 in the pre-market. At some point, it's going to break out its bull flag and off to the races in triple digits. Don't want to be on the sidelines when that happens. So maybe today's the day I get the Lemonade strikes. I was trying to think of something. RH is another name, and I would try and do some lottos this week. They report earnings. So not going to try lottos on that one, but certainly interesting. And I think that's it, folks. Getting close to the bell. I'll be back on audio later. So have a great day.